Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode here on the Hermitcraft server. My friends, we have a clear path to victory. Victory over the frustrations with the project in this area. I asked for feedback. Many of you said we should make this overgrown, and that idea has been stirring over in my mind again and again. And now I think I can see a clear path forward as to how we're actually going to complete the entirety of the project in this area. It's going to involve integrating it into our amazing slime farm. And if you didn't see the last episode, well, this thing just pumps out slimes galore. And it also gets these super rare slime heads because it's driven by player kills. There is a downside to that though. When I'm not using it, I put lava here. And that means that all the slimes and the slime balls, they just get wrecked by the lava. That is perhaps the one thing this farm needs, a sort of passive way to collect the slime balls, but that's not my concern right now. As I said, I see a path forward, a way to make this area around here feel more abandoned and complete the project. There's a lot that's going to go into that, and we'll talk about that in detail a little bit later on. Right now we're going to talk about the blast chamber, and I'm not going to drag you through another process of dismantling and rebuilding without this being a success. And what I can tell you is that this was indeed a success. I ripped out the old blast chamber and started building a new one, but in the middle of that process, what would you know, a wandering trader popping up on the outside again. My platform never works, but when I'm just hanging out in my own area, despite there being jungle trees everywhere, I always manage to spot a wandering trader. So anyway, I got stuck in building this design, which was the smallest of all the ones I've built so far, and it was specifically designed for me and my needs here on this Hermitcraft server, where I've run into all sorts of issues with the other blast chambers that we have tried to use. And so all in all, it probably took me around an hour to put all of this stuff together, and when I gave it a little test run, I learned that the TNT was going to put a hole in the wall, as you can see here, and so with a little bit of obsidian I was then able to shield the blast from blowing up the blocks of our blast chamber. And this thing works, like it's doing the job with no hiccups, no problems whatsoever. And after running many stacks of concrete for it, I can safely say that this finally is a success. And so our concrete converting needs can be taken care of easily with this contraption, and I want to give a huge shout out to Activation for making this purpose-built design. It seems like they really understood all the issues that I was having and addressed all of them. There is just like two things I'm going to point out about this design. One of them might not even be an issue, and that is this gap here. If anything ever went wrong and some of these blocks got pushed over into this and set off the TNT, I'd be a bit upset, so I'm going to put some obsidian there. Hopefully that doesn't mess with anything, and I don't even think that's going to be a problem, but I've become very paranoid about these blast chambers. And so the only actual issue I encountered was with this distribution system. I split my concrete into these two chests, and it actually only put them into the ones on either side. So it might be that it works on a backup system before it distributes them into the middle here, but I thought this might make a cool challenge for me to make my own distribution system to put all the items into the 4 droppers. Now, if you want to get the full rundown on all the details of this farm, Activation recorded a video with Rayworks over on Rayworks' channel. That'll be linked in the description box below. You can get a world download. I'll also be linking Activation's channel if you want to go and check them out, because I am extremely grateful for this. It has been a real headache, and I love this. One of the things I like most about it, though, is this row of droppers right here, which might look really strange, but it's actually a binary counter. So every time you activate this, there it is, my torch gets moved across by 1, and then the TNT eventually gets set off. And this was one of the biggest frustrations with other designs, is that the TNT wasn't exploding in sequence with the amount of blocks that you were putting in. So it means you can just stop using this farm whenever you like and start using it again, and the TNT will still detonate on time, and that is just terrific. And yeah, so far it looks like everything here is working. And I promise you, I'll stop nattering on about this contraption. We'll be moving on in a second. As you can see, some of these blocks have actually been blown up, and I believe that's because we also just need some obsidian on the underside down here. And this farm is supposed to be like 99% lossless, meaning you do get a little bit of loss here and there. I actually haven't lost any of the light grey and concrete, which are the first bunch of blocks that I sent through. So I am just unbelievably happy with this and pleased. And activation, thank you so much for doing this. It is really appreciated. So I really want for this project area to be finished now, and I know the path to get there, all the things that we need to do and how to achieve it. But first of all, we're going to swoop round to the back of this building because I've added in a landing bay. I took out some of the decorative components that were here before, and you can see this thing just diagonally leads you right into the blast chamber and the part where you use it as well, which is right here. I'm not going to do anything fancy to tie it all up, but that right there is just fine for me. And I've actually tidied up all of the openings and bits and bobs that had changed on this building. It's basically now finished. The only other opening is this part, and obviously I need to develop a storage system in here. That is one last job for a different day though. So I had a big and grand vision for this place, but my motivation has pretty much disappeared with all the problems I ran into leading up to this. So I've decided it's a good idea to actually scale back the project and remove what is going to remain unfinished. That's why we're tearing down both of these walls, and we're also going to take out the hazard area as well, because originally this was going to be contained inside of a little fort, and there were going to be lots of details in there that I'm no longer going to build. And so what I actually want to do is start to restore the jungle, and so because of that we need to tear out all of what we've built around our blast chamber. And so with all the clearing and removal done, it's time for restoration. And as you can see, we've given a base to this structure with some sea lanterns that illuminate it at night. And the same goes for this tower over here, which now doesn't really serve a purpose, but I put a few more details into it. And we're going to keep this thing here, even though it's kind of sitting right in the middle of this river. And that is actually the next thing I want to address. As you can see, I've put in a shoreline over here, and another one on the opposite side, and we're going to be filling in all the space back here with grass, leaves on top of it, and then maybe a few jungle trees as well. Well, my friends, this certainly ain't no jungle. We'll be getting back over there soon. I figured 1.16 is around the corner. Probably a good idea to stock up on blaze rods since the nether is getting reset. And look at this. This bug still occurs when I log out and log back in. Then all the blazes start pathfinding over to the corner like they should do. It's very strange. But anyway, I wanted to ask all of you a question. What do you think we should do in preparation for 1.16? I'm going to start rattling my brain and thinking about what things we need to do, what might be a good idea. Stock up on some nether resources like blaze rods, for example. So if you know of something we should be doing, let me know with a comment down below. So heading back over here to our storage system, I realised that we're starting to accumulate some shulker boxes that just sit inside of here holding items, and we could better rearrange some of this. I think what we should do is go for the column system with some of these blocks, and slime is going to be one of those columns, as there's other ones here that we don't really need. For example, the phantom doesn't need a whole column, neither does the ghast, and this one over here has got nothing in it because we got the shulker for shulker boxes over on the opposite side, which I started to run a little low on, so I think it's a good idea to clear out some of these things and rearrange them. And in doing that, I've picked out some of these new blocks that we got with recent trades, so these are all going to have like their own place now, because obsidian, I'm never really going to fill up more than a chest of that, right? And I also moved all of our other mini blocks over to here. I'm going to put my own head there to represent that, and as you can see, we have accumulated quite a lot of these mini block heads. Things are getting there now. All of these shulker boxes are empty. Our mob heads have taken up this corner over here, and so I figured stuff that doesn't have a mini block can kind of go in this corner here, so we're going to have lots of item frames, and I moved a whole bunch of stuff together over here. It looks really good once you start clumping the things together. And look at that, we filled up that thing now. Excellent. So with a little bit of storage work out of the way, it was time to turn our attention back to the blast chamber and the area around it. As you can see here, just filling in all of the water with dirt so that we can then grow some trees on top of it. And I added this pipe as well. Well, it's not a pipe yet, it's some blocks to kind of remind me that I want to move items out to a shared storage system between the slime farm and the blast chamber. So after growing all of those trees, I then had to build the floor of the jungle made out of random logs, oak leaves and jungle leaves, and it didn't really take long, about 20 minutes. And so we were basically just shifting where we'd got the leaf blocks from other parts of the jungles over to this part. It's like recycling, but yes, this gave the area around our blast chamber that natural jungle feel again. And now I stand before you at the mouth of the river where it meets the ocean. I believe that's the correct term, the mouth, right? Anyway, what's wrong with this is it just looks a little janky having this grass go across, and we've got this odd sort of tall bit of terrain, and there's another clump over there that could probably be done with getting rid of. Look at that, that's feeling much better. Taking the time to give this area care and attention is totally worth it. And the next part we're going to focus on is this spot right behind me. Let's get the camera account on and let's draw some lines in the water for where we're going to make our next set of changes. So I'm drawing an outline of where the edge of the land is going to be. We're going to fill in some of the water here to give the river more of a riverly shape. And then this will allow us to work on the slime farm a little easier just by pushing back the river away from it and giving us some space to work with. So I filled in the water, and then as you can imagine I put down some leaves, started to grow some trees as well and just fill this area in and make it feel natural. And then I turned my attention over to the circular area around the slime farm and put leaves going all the way around. Now this included me going down to the very bottom and then scaffolding up so that I could have the leaves hanging down the sides here, and the effect is just wonderful. It's overgrown, it kind of hides the circular effect a little bit. It's very obvious it's a perfect circle, but it feels so much more natural now. And so the next step is to surround the stone here with white concrete, and maybe that's what I should have done from the get-go, built this thing out of white concrete, and then I've got to try and somehow turn it into one of these sorts of towers that makes sense and fits in the area. It is going to be quite the task because I'm not going to have a lot of creative freedom. And I don't want to put too many blocks above the platform down there. Every block that we put that's higher above the platform sort of slows down the rates. So we want to keep this thing as compact as possible and not have it overextend. And I should be clear that transparent blocks like glass don't lower the spawn rates of what's going on below it. And I think that applies to the leaf blocks as well that we got around the edge here. But anyway, I decided to put a glass roof on this, and I've done it with grey, which actually blends in really well with the stone, which is what I was going for. And now it's filled in, and I've started to do a little bit of the decorative work here, but it's kind of floating off of the ground. Yet from up the top here, we kind of get away with that. The grey glass and stone just gives this illusion that it's actually fixed to the ground. That's terrific. So now the challenge is building the rest of this blind, and what I mean by that is no prior creative world testing. Everything I'm about to do will be done in the fly on survival, which I haven't done before, so wish me luck. Let's see how this goes. First part is the easy part. We're just building a big flat box. Can't really go wrong with this. It's obviously a little bit plain and we want to add some detail to this. I was going to put some slime windows in, but I might also go for some details similar to what we got going on over here. I ended up going for a mix of the two, and it's very clean and simple, but it looks really nice. And then over on this side we're going to be extending that box out, but obviously it's got to be bigger, it's got to come out further, it's got to go lower down, and it's going to be a challenge to make it all work. The first thing I realised is that our item dispensary system off to the side came out too far to really work with, so I've flipped it so it's in this direction. It's now 5 blocks wide, and that means it can fit inside the entirety of what we're about to build. And when I say fit inside, it couldn't have really come any closer than this. On both sides it just squeezes in ever so snugly without extending out too far either. So this is what we're going to go for, and where you might expect the cyan to sort of wrap around underneath and meet up with this bit right here, actually decided to give it some pillars going down to the bottom, which I just think adds a bit more character to this. So I've had to adjust the slime block windows, but now there is symmetry around the entire build, and that serves it so well. It just looks fantastic, and that, my friends, is almost complete. So I've had to chop down a tree and adjust the layout of these slime block windows, but now there is a great symmetry to this build, and it just feels fantastic. So my ambition this episode was to be able to say that this area over here is done, and we're going to have to concede on one thing, and that is the storage area that I'm going to put between the slime farm and our concrete blaster. So when I was doing those third-person time lapses earlier, I commented on how I was going to have a pipe come out of this building. You can see we've got concrete here for that, and that's to bring out the items after they've been blasted. So they need to go into a storage system, and the one that we have here has been disconnected from this farm. So I think what we'll probably end up doing is chopping down a couple of trees and building another little building in between the two of these. But we're going to save that one for another day. That's going to be a really fun project, quite a technical one. The only thing I need to do here now is just put in a proper entrance. And it turns out this can actually be incredibly simple. It's a little bit close to the head, but some steps lead into here, and at some other point in time I might come and decorate all of this properly, but for now we can start using it again. And so the next thing for us to do was to turn our attention to this area where we have this pipe system and it has 3 dead ends. So then I started recording me doing some more leaf placing and whatnot, and I realised this probably wasn't very interesting, but the point here was just to tidy up some of the borders and areas that looked ugly, and there was also a river that I wanted to transform a little bit and open up some more, and then there was a little bit of area where I dug away to build the wall that needed restoring. So I took care of those things and then started to work on the tower, which actually didn't really go too well to begin with because I accidentally built this initial design off by 1 block, but I also felt the design was a little bit bulky, so I decided to scale it back and remove a lot of what had been placed down in the bottom area. And so we now have this lump here rising out of the ground. Initially I wanted this thing to be rather big, but I think I should have stuck to something more skinny like that over there, and we need 2 more of these, and this one's pretty ugly. I also haven't finished putting all of it together, but you can just see the design. So the next 2 that we do are going to be different from this. Okay, I wasted a lot of time earlier. I really did. That other tower design was terrible. This one makes so much more sense, and once again, you know, using the honey just to make it look like a bit of a honey drill, extracting it out of the ground, that really ties in with the theme of the base, that we're always using honey like that, and it tells the story. I love it. And from up here it looks alright as well, actually, so we're going to copy that over to here, and fell all the way down. Well, we now have 3 of these concluding towers for the pipes, and while I was working on it, I was thinking, surely you know what these pipes were for. Perhaps you've only been watching for a little while and didn't see the beginning of this project. There are blocks that get moved through these pipes, and there was going to be a concrete station, a cobblestone generator, and a tree farm. Those were the 3 things we were going to feed into the blast chamber, but with it not working, we kind of abandoned that, and so now this thing actually looks finished. Although it doesn't do anything, it's not sitting over there in the distance looking wonky. Well, what can I say? This area of our jungle base back here is now kind of finished. There's just one last project to do. We'll do it another time, and that is to simply bring the items from the blast chamber and the slime farm over here to some sort of new building where there'll be a storage system for them. And speaking of the blast chamber, we got a bunch of sand and gravel from Corrales the other episode. I think we should put it to use. So, the most common colour that me and Corrales use, I believe, is the white concrete. So we're going to do 2 full shulker boxes of this and convert it over at the farm that we built. Ah yes, and as I'm flying over here, I'm like, how do I get in there again? Oh yeah, we got this great entrance right here that takes me to exactly where I need to be. Aha, and I changed the loading system to this. So what I'm probably going to do is just manually fill it all up so I can start using it straight away for now. Well, this thing has been working a charm. All in all, it took about 12 minutes to do 2 shulker boxes. This thing is fast. And if you're observant, you might notice that there are actually some blocks that don't get pushed as consistently as others. So they're sort of stuck inside the machine, moving through very slowly. But anyway, that's a small thing. And down here, you know, again, not a lot of losses. Although there's a couple of stacks missing, they're up inside, ready to be TNT'd inside that big clump of blocks. So I've done some stocking up, and I'm going to drop the rest of the stuff in our supply over here. These 29 diamonds are all mine, and we made no concrete sales since we last checked, but they came from the bones. Again, that entire chest that was left, all gone. So I need to restock up. And having caught on to how popular these bones are at the moment, I stocked up the other day. Let's go and see how much we've actually got here. I think this stuff is still in shulker boxes. Yeah, and we need 3 full shulker boxes to restock the shop. And we've got that and some to go around. By the way, we are looking good on the diamond front. Not only am I relatively full up there, I've also been accumulating diamond blocks in here. Oh, ridiculous. And we didn't do our stat comparison today. I've been so focused on the jungle, I completely forgot about it. But I want to go and look at mobs and just have a look at my own numbers here. The skeleton, look at that. 44,000 skeletons and 41,000 slimes. That's bonkers. And there it is. We've fully restocked our bones. They are popular. I think I'm going to head straight over to the bone farm again and start gathering some more so we can keep it stocked up. That has been our real moneymaker this season, hasn't it? And remember, earlier in the episode I talked about 1.16 and preparations that we need to make leading to the update, which is now going to be on June the 23rd. By the way, that has been announced, and also there was like a big pre-release video earlier in the week. If you didn't see that, go check it out to get all of the updates and details and info on 1.16. But yes, I need you to let me know and help me out. I'm planning on next episode trying to do preparations for 1.16. Maybe there's a bunch of stuff we should do beforehand. Anyway, leave a comment down below. Let me know what your ideas are, and I'll see you soon in another episode. Bye-bye.